It's time to sell. Interest rates are going to be hiked multiple times this year. We're going to be unpacking today what the RBA is doing, what's happening in the economy, how you can work with the right mortgage broker and the right buyer's agent to help you actually build a property portfolio that's sustainable. So Nevada, is the market going to come crashing down? What's happening with interest rates, in your opinion, this year?
Well, it's certainly not my expectation, but who knows? The reality is with interest rates, obviously we've had one increase. And the quote-unquote experts are expecting some more increases.
For sure.
I always take this kind of thing with a grain of salt because prior to Christmas, those same experts were predicting a whole bunch of decreases. So the reality is no one knows. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Plan for the worst, hope for the best sort of scenario. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where if there's one increase, you're done, or a couple of increases, and you're in an uncomfortable position, but at the same time, you don't want to be relying on decreases either. So it's one of those situations where no one really knows.
It's a balancing act of where the market's moving in terms of interest rates.
There's a whole bunch of conversations and predictions, and I don't sort of focus on that too much, to be honest.
Yeah, and the reality is that for the average mortgage holder at 700 or 600K, it's somewhere between $90 to $110 a month in extra cost at the current rate rise. So every rate rise is another $100 a month, which is no good with the cost of living. We've still got to get to Woolies and Coles and kids to school and cars to run. But if you've got reasonable buffers, that's $1,200 per rate rise a year. And so you should be able to stomach 3, 4, 5 rate rises fairly comfortably because the banks are servicing you with that 3% buffer as well.
Most lenders are applying a 3% buffer. Some lenders are applying reduced buffers in certain instances. Obviously, if you're a particular individual with a lot of your listeners and you own multiple properties, it is a bigger increase and a bit of a hit across the board. But that's the reality of the circumstance.
Nature. Yeah. I'd expect personally that there's going to be that everyone's expecting at least one more, and probably 2 to 3. I think is the money market's opinion. It's probably going to be another 2 this year, which puts us up another 0.5%, which is a cash rate of around 4.3-ish. As a ballpark, 4.3, which means that the average mortgage holder is probably going to be paying about 6.3 to 6.5%. I know one of my mortgages just got bumped up. It's around 7.09%. Now, for me, I look at that weighted average interest rate. And we've talked about this before, but explain it from your view as a mortgage broker, how clients can use a weighted average interest rate and different lenders to actually create a sustainable portfolio that gives them more choice.
Yeah, so essentially there's certain instances where you'll need to use different tier lenders, so tier 2 or tier 3.
And who are those, like for the average punter, what's your tiers roughly?
So tier 2,
tier 1.
Tier 1 are your big 4 plus the
CBA,
others,
ANZ,
Westpac, NAB, Macquarie would fit into that criteria.
And
as well.
Suncorp's probably.
Suncorp would be there would be there as well.
Tier 2?
Tier 2 for us is your. There's some lenders that sit in tier 2 and tier 3 depending on the product.
St. George.
I would still put them in tier 1, to be honest. More like your Apollos, Brightons, these kind of niche lenders who are good for very specific circumstances. The rates are nominally higher, slightly higher, not as much as you might anticipate they would be. And then your tier 3, you can be looking at substantially higher.
And so your tier 3s is your private lending market.
Or your Peppers, your Liberties, very flexible policies, but they generally charge a substantially higher rate on those products. So with those products, if you are using them, it's generally, we want to phase it as a plan. So you're using this product to acquire a property, and then we have a 6-month or 3-month strategy to get you back into a more standard product.
Yeah, so if I'm a start-out investor who's got my own home and maybe 1 or 2 investments, and I've got my own home with CBA, and I've done my second property with St. George and my third deal with Liberty, talk me through how I can be comfortable with a weighted average interest rate, and maybe after 12 months, there's some lower barriers there too.
Yeah, exactly. So part of our strategy is we only want to move you to the higher tier lenders to meet your objectives on the properties that have to be moved. So for example, let's just say you had that CBA mortgage, that's just a tier 1 lender, probably reasonably competitive rate if you've negotiated with them. And then to acquire your investment property, you have to go to a tier 2 or tier 3 lender. We're not going to, unless we have to, move that CBA mortgage to the tier 2 or tier 3, because then you're increasing your entire portfolio. So you want to place each property in a category where it's best fit to reduce the overall interest rate. So ideally you're in a situation where you minimize the higher rate lending, and then you sort of have that overall interest rate not being too bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of instances for myself, which is what a good mortgage broker would do, is look after their client's best interest. We'll talk ourselves, or we'll minimize our opportunity for transactions and revenue for our business, because we can see that actually in this instance, this is all best to be left alone.
Yep.
There's no benefit or win for the client here by touching or refinancing any of this. So let's just leave that all here and let's just do the pre-approval over here. There's no need to
change loans that are already in a good position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Nevada's doing this, or done this for me in the last 3 months. So I bought 3 deals, which I've shared some of on the YouTube channel, and you'll see more of very soon. But Nevada got me some lending with MA Money, which would be second, bridge onto third tier, and Brighton Home Loans as well.
Yep.
And that was to secure some funding. Now, we actually had a hiccup in one of those deals, and it's probably good to talk about because hiccups happen. Issues happen with your financing. But it's all about working with the right team to get you the solutions so you don't lose your deposits, so you don't lose deals. So maybe talk through from your side what that looked like and the solution we came up with to solve the problem.
Yeah. So Luke very kindly purchased 3 properties at the same
Within
instance.
12 days, I think.
Yeah, and I believe they were all unconditional.
That's right.
So he got some good deals there and used, being unconditional.
There was some leverage there for sure.
As some leverage there, but it puts a bit of pressure on us. But that's part of our job, and we had discussed and made a plan beforehand.
Don't do that without being pre-approved and working with your broker on the risk.
It's something to be careful of. Luke's in a situation where he's done it a few times. He understands the risks involved and has some mitigants. So be really careful doing unconditional offers. I'll never recommend it.
Definitely.
But in those situations where it happens, we'll work out a solution to find the right fit. So in that instance, we had plans around transactions and where they want to go to.
Yep.
In one of those particular transactions, we had previously had policy exceptions on a particular document we needed, which is a notice of assessment.
Yep.
In this instance, that lender sort of tweaked around what they're doing an exception on, probably because they had an issue elsewhere. And they said this time we really need that notice of assessment.
Yep.
The issue with notice of assessment document is that once you request and lodge your tax returns with the ATO, that's a document that can take up to 10 business days.
That's right, 2 weeks.
So we're in a situation where, due to timing, being unconditional, we were getting really close.
Yeah.
And it ended up that we got to the point that, okay, this option we have that's going to work is not going to meet the required time frame.
That's right.
So we had to jump down a private lending route to complete the purchase and ensure you didn't lose any deposits. The seller may have extended and they may have been okay with it, but that's a risk that you can't be really like. It's your deposit, but the reality is
$60,000 on the line. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, and for us it feels like it's our money that so it's a big deal. So we couldn't take that risk. We went down the private route. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cost associated with going down that route. But the reality is that part of doing transactions with unconditional contracts, short time frames, multiple properties, a lot of other properties going on.
And these things happen, right?
Exactly.
And that's why it's important to have a mortgage broker that knows, and you say this to me all the time, we've got plan A, B, C, D, E. There should be backup plan after backup plan. And so the address of that property was 27 Susan Street, Redbank Plains. You can look it up. The contract price was $800,000. And we had it pre-approved with a couple of conditions, which again, the timing ended up being very short. And that's why I so back these guys at Cube Home Loans and Nevada as my broker and his team, because they've got a lot of amazing brokers that work under Nevada. The great thing with those guys is they're going to come to you with solutions, not just more questions. And so when we got that private lending, it probably cost 15 to 20 grand more. But if you look at the deal, you look at the value that I'd already bought, the deposit on the line, we got that. It's otherwise known as bridging finance, basically. A lot of people do it with their own home when they're selling and trying to transition. In the case, I had to do it to get from one loan to another. And it is absolutely worth it to come up with that solution so that we can progress. And in about, we're talking 6-7 days, that property will now settle with the original lender. We'll be on a lower interest rate. There should be some cash out from that because we had to, balance the cash in that deal, and a really great outcome in my opinion. So you're going to have problems on your investing journey or even in your own home, and working with a broker that has those solutions is so important. I think it's good to talk about the hurdles we overcome.
Exactly. And the reality is there's a lot of transactions we do that are quite simple, straightforward, and you lodge with the lender, maybe get a question or two back, and then it's approved. And the reality is that a lot of brokers would be able to do that. Most brokers would be able to do that.
That's right.
Where you can look at the value in a mortgage broker, and there's a lot of good mortgage brokers in our industry, is that when something goes pear-shaped, how does that broker show up?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's some of the other firms that actually sort of shy away when that happens, and will try to
I can tell you about my horror
get out
stories.
of deals, and that's unfortunately the case. But a good mortgage broker, and again, there's lots of them. I'm not only speaking to us, will be there to problem solve and step through all the potential solutions. And to be honest, sometimes what's required to meet a settlement deadline is, the amount of times I've driven into the city to hand deliver documents, to all sorts of weird and wonderful solutions to get things to happen. Gotten the hold of the head of the bank from a LinkedIn profile and finding his mobile number to make a deal work.
Make it happen.
The things that a broker that's really invested in the transaction will do. That's where the value is. Those deals are few and far between, but when they come up, you want someone there that's actively invested like it's their money.
And how many people are doing multi-investment property portfolios? You look at the stats, right? Like the stats are crazy. I think it's most property investors aren't out there because I think 70% of Australians don't own one investment. And then you get into the stats, to own one, it's only like 30%. And then that drops to 19% with two investments. And then we're talking very small percentages. So if you're looking to do one investment, then you need a broker that's really knows their stuff. If you're looking to do two investments plus, it's so important having a mortgage broker that actually knows what they're doing. That was when I ran into the issues. So I was working with a big brand name mortgage broker in Brisbane. I bought our first home. We bought our first investment. Third property came up. They said, yeah, it's all good. You're all approved. It's all going ahead. 7 days into a 14-day finance clause, we almost lost. That was our Emily and my dream home. That was Green Soaps.
Yeah.
Which, that property, after we did an initial renovation and then a major renovation, and the market growth has done so well. And so if we hadn't found the right broker at the right time, and now Nevada's dealing with my portfolio at 12 to 13 million, that if you're working with the guys at Cube and their team, they've got clients like myself who have multiple trust structures, multiple entities, have that complexity, and they can handle that solution.
And to be honest, with each additional property and layer, and it becomes more and more difficult as you go. There's more things you need to consider and know about lenders in that space. So certainly, one of those things that we spend a lot of time doing.
Yeah. And so I guess to wrap up this video around, banking and the economy, what is your opinion on the market in 2026 and 2027 and onwards? Where do you think the market's going to go in terms of the property space? You can have your own wild outlandish opinions, or is it just steady as she goes? What are your thoughts?
I honestly think it's more of the same. There's a lot of obviously pressure I see either which way, but I think it's a bit more of the same this year. More growth, more investor activity. I always try to take a step back and just look at what I'm seeing personally on my desk as far as clients.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. You guys are seeing so many deals and transactions.
We still have so many first home buyers, so many investors eager to acquire more property. We had one recently. We got an email. They're about to go ahead with an application. We got an email. Oh, apologies, our circumstances has changed. We had our little one earlier than we expected. It's like, oh, congratulations, and reach out when you're ready. And this particular investor, being a very keen investor, she's a good client of ours. She emailed us back maybe 2 or 3 days post-birth and said, actually, I'm ready to revisit this now. Is there any way we can make it work whilst on maternity leave? And it happens in her instance, there was. And she's since acquired a property sort of literally 2 weeks after the birth of her little one. So not to say that I just see that as a eagerness to continue to grow. And there's certainly a lot of that with the property investors, first home buyers in particular. Yeah,
and I guess for you guys, you see everything all over Australia. For us in the buyers agency, we're at this point in time focused on Southeast Queensland and Greater Melbourne. But I see value across Australia. Like Perth's a big talking point at the moment with the lack of supply in that city. Another one that's coming up on the cards is Hobart, and Tasmania is starting to see a revival.
The biggest changes in locations that I've seen is big uptick in Victoria and Melbourne, and then big uptick in Tasmania.
Yeah,
they're the big changes that I've seen. I've seen way less of the Adelaides and those are maybe a few years.
Even regional Queenslands, your regional New South Wales has maybe taken a back seat. It's really interesting because in the buyers agency we do specialise in those areas, but I'm encouraging people to do what's best for them in their portfolio. So when you're investing, you shouldn't be investing for the next 3 months, 6 months. What's happening with interest rates right now shouldn't hopefully drive your decisions. It should be that 3, 5, 7 year, 10 year horizon. and working with a broker like these guys and like a buyer's agent like myself. You don't have to use either of us, but find someone, build that team around you that's going to get you where you want to go, and write out these, you know, problems, concerns, write out those storms, and ask your advisors, ask your team those when you've got questions of doubt. Awesome.
Absolutely.
So good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for sticking around. If you want to find Nevada and myself, you'll go down and click the links. You'll see how you can book in with the guys at Cube, and you can book in with ourselves at Purpose Property in the buyer's agency, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.